Okay. There. Whoops. Okay.
Wednesday, everyone.
What's that?
Happy Wednesday. Hi, Emily. Hi, Padmini. Hi, Karen.
Oh, hi.
Hi. Hi, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Happy Wednesday.
Same to you. Happy Wednesday as well.
Wonderful. Well, I'll go ahead and share my screen so we can get started. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. A couple of Zoom rules I'm sure you're all used to it by now, but a couple of Zoom rules that we're all used to. One, mute yourself when you're not speaking. We recommend speaker view for presentation. Video sharing is optional. Please type all questions and comments into the chat. We will have a Q&A with our special guest speaker today, Rich Horner. We're so happy he can join us today. So if you have any questions for him during his presentation or after, we will have some time for that at the end. So be sure to use the chat feature. A quick update from Autism Tree. We have now reached over 400,000, 78,000 people reached through our social media channels. This is across all of our platforms, so Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and so on. We have an amazing team of interns that help update that daily. And of course, with the help of our volunteer community, we've been able to reach our families during this time. Our posts have been shared over 797 times, which is amazing. We're gonna reach that 800 goal probably within the next week. Thank you to everyone who has kept sharing all of our videos and our posts. We have now 295 videos on our YouTube channel, so definitely subscribe if you haven't today. We do post daily of amazing videos that are shared from our volunteers and program directors. We've posted over 200 videos since March of 2020, since shelter in place. So a couple of those is we have a couple different playlists if you'd like to check out our YouTube playlists. One of those is our Reading with Autism Tree series, where our volunteers read a children's book for our kids and families. We have posted 89 videos and reached over 42,000 people through just that series. We've also have an ATPF at home series where we share different fun activities. Right now we're sharing a lot of holiday videos, holiday themed videos. So we did Halloween arts and crafts. We'll probably do more Christmas, Hanukkah, holiday themed throughout now through the end of the year. We've also provided 166 virtual events to date. These are all for our families and all free to attend. We have 24 events now coming up between now and the end of November. And of course, we update our calendars weekly. And so there's always something new to get involved in. If you'd like to learn more, you can go ahead and reach out to me. And of course, we're now offering 19 of our 20 programs, 18 are virtual and are ongoing on a weekly and monthly basis. So definitely stay tuned for a lot of exciting news coming up between now and the end of the year. So without further ado, I will introduce Dana K. Hoff. She's our co-founder and volunteer executive director, and she's going to introduce our special guest today.
Thank you, Rebecca. I just, I'm really excited. Oh, I didn't put it on speaker view, sorry. I'm really excited that we're in our 30th week today. And I think, you know, like anything, I've said it so many times, that it's no accident that Rich is our speaker today. I want to first say, Rebecca, we're all so proud of you of doing such an outstanding job while our Lisa was gone, taking care of her new baby Calvin. Some of you might have seen our post yesterday. We had our first team meeting. We're going to give a big warm welcome back to Lisa. I know some of you already have been typing into her. So Lisa, we're all sending you big love having you here with us today. I do want to share that Lisa's probably not going to be on the future Lunch and Learns because Rebecca has done such an outstanding job that Lisa's going to be transitioning into truly being our development executive. And we're just so blessed that she's able to do that because Rebecca is killing it. And so I really want to let you know today Lisa's on here just to give everybody some love and see everybody, but also to support Rich because we're a team with Rich. For those of you that don't know, Rich has been leading our big picture vision that we've had pretty much since Garrett was diagnosed with autism, and I was exhausted from running him around San Diego all day, every day. As many of you know, being either a child that went through going to lots of therapy, or a parent, or a provider that gives therapy, we're all somehow in the spectrum of understanding that it's very common for us to be all over the place getting our needs met if we're in the world of autism or neurodiversity, having any kind of neurological disorder. So Rich has been working tirelessly on a vision called One Place where you wouldn't have to do that. And he's not really going to cover that today, but you'll see in our photos a little bit because I like to introduce each person as a family member. And so I'm giving extra love to Rich today. Today was supposed to be Dr. Torres, and she had to cancel. So it was really awesome, Rich, for coming on today. And I'm so excited and proud of Rich because we've experienced a lot of things together since I met Rich. And I'm just extraordinarily proud of him. He's one of my favorite fathers within Autism Tree Project Foundation, hands down. And that is because he's so hands-on and so dedicated to Brett. And it's quite a gift that he's going to share that with you today. And I think the word that I feel, words are so powerful. And I just like to say that I feel really reverent to you, Rich, for opening yourself up and talking about your son. You know, it's hard for me to not get emotional about that. It's very, you know, as much as I've done it with my own son over the last 16 years, I just remember that it really never kind of got easy. And I'm always grateful to parents that step up and share their journey because we all will learn something from it. There's just no two ways about it. And it doesn't really matter if you're on this call as a parent or someone with autism or our team, or, you know, it doesn't, we're all human. And so we learn so much from each other when we share our journeys with each other, period. And if you haven't been on an Autism Tree Lunch and Learn before, I feel really that it's really important to keep re-emphasizing that I really believe every day, each day, more than the day before. During this pandemic, even it's kind of magnified it. Is that we have 724 trillion cells in our individual bodies, and it just makes everything possible for you. Everything's possible, and that's what I want you to know is that is part of our culture, is to believe in each other and know that we will continue to evolve as an organization, as individuals, and we believe in each other and we want to hear your voices. Today I picked kind of a corny question because the election was so insane, and it still is. And if you don't know Rich yet, Rich, if you become social media friends with him, is sort of like an iconic guy, and compared to me, with his foodie cooking talent. And so I just thought it'd be fun to say, last night for election night, what did you have for dinner? If you want to type it in for fun. Rebecca, my answer is I tried to make something in our crock pot, and it was maybe just like edible. I had high hopes, but it really wasn't all that. I don't know what I did. I don't follow directions, first of all. I just kind of wing it. So there's the problem. But I have made a crock pot dinner. If I had to call it something, I'd call it like winter comfort food. But, you know, I think sometimes I'm open to you guys suggesting questions because I love seeing what you type in. And I just, maybe one day, Rich will help all of us become a little more flavorful in what we serve for dinner or lunch. And with that, I actually want to tell you that I had a whole different questions and video and quote for Dr. Torres. So it was kind of surprising to me that I couldn't even find one video that really connected for me, especially when I think about Rich and his son Brett. And so I didn't end up doing a father-son video. I did it on parenting, but I do love this video, and I do think this is the type of parent that Rich is. So if you'll take a moment and watch this with me, it's not too long. And I just really, again, appreciate everybody today and celebrate being our 30th Lunch and Learn today with you.
A great parent is not the one who gives the most money, not the one who gives the most toys, not the one who gives the best place to live. A great parent is the one who gives attention. To be a great parent, all you need to do is be present with your child. Not give presents, be present. That's all kids really want. They want you to notice them, to be loved, to be wanted. The best parent is the one whose eyes light up when their child enters the room. The parent who makes a promise to love unconditionally. The parent who leads by example. Not by what you say, but by what you do. Kids will never pay attention to your words. They will always and only pay attention to your actions and your intentions. A great parent works on themselves. A great parent makes their own mind strong, knowing their kids will likely follow in their footsteps. Heal yourself. Make your own mind strong, so your children can see the clearest example of what a great life looks like. Setting a clear and strong example of what type of human being you want your kids to become starts with you. It's up to you to set the example of kindness and compassion toward others, to set the example of what it is like to be yourself, to set the example of living a magical life that you choose. That's what a great parent does. Set their child free. Allow them to be themselves. Allow them to make their own decisions. Live your life in such a way that when your kids think of kindness, compassion, strength, authenticity, and real joy, they think of you. A great parent knows not to allow anything in their life they don't want their children to reproduce in their lives. That includes toxic relationships. That includes bad habits. That includes making decisions based on fear. A great parent listens. They don't lecture. A great parent supports, never shames. A great parent guides and sets free. Being a parent is not a job, it's a privilege. Being a parent is not a burden, it's a blessing. They are always watching. What kind of role model will you be for your children?
You guys are making me hungry seeing all these things you had for dinner last night. Thanks for typing those in. I hope you love that video like I did. I could watch that every day, even though my son's 20. I just think it nailed it. You know, when I was a mother to a toddler, and I just have my one son, I really realized that he was a reflection of me. So if he was having a really bad day, I'd have to look in the mirror a lot and realize, wow, you know, I'm carrying this anxiety. I'm carrying this sort of negative current in me, and really try to shift it. And I do think that a lot of times when we're getting reactions in the world that we're not happy with, it's because we're carrying that and we don't realize it. So, you know, I think this video is a really good reminder that we are a reflection, and sort of like we bounce back what we're giving out. And one thing that I feel very humbled and blessed by is that I feel so much love and so many blessings every single day at Autism Tree Project Foundation. And that is because of the heartbeat that is the current of everybody. And so I want you to know I'm so appreciative of that. This quote, it directly hit me for you, Rich. And I know I'm not going to say the thing that you said to me about your son, that I wrote it down and like wanted to put it in lights. It was so awesome. But this quote certainly reminds me of you and your son. My father gave me the greatest gift anyone could give another person. He believed in me. And how awesome is that? I mean, you'll see yourself how much Rich believes in his son. And I want to share a little going into, if you look at the ATPF photo album, here's some of our experiences with Rich. I actually met Rich Horner from Chris Dickinson, who, if you don't know, is my personal mentor since 2008. I don't have a background to run a foundation. I have, my MBA, and I was in the medical world covering 200 hospitals and a vascular access specialist for Johnson & Johnson. And so it's just always been the heartbeat that I bring to the foundation. I mean, I do have, business and marketing and all of that, but I needed to have a mentor, and Chris Dickinson runs his family's foundation, and he has been a guiding light for me in Autism Tree. And he handpicked Rich to come to ATPF and really be the guiding light to take us to the big vision that we've always had, which is one place. And he's been working tirelessly. You will see, this is one of our first, if we go back in some of these photos, I think we decided that we met in 2015 or 16. And in 2017, we did a Meet the Neuroscientist Day at the Children's Museum. And you can see in the far top left corner, Dr. Levy's in the photo, and Dr. Motri. Dr. Mochi's going to be doing a lunch and learn later this month. And if you don't know Chris Dickinson, he's right, excuse me, next to Rich in the next photo with Lisa on the end. And they're all titled One Place Meetings. One of our board members is Eric Kusik, who's also a father with 2 boys with autism. And he has been so generous to have many, many One Place meetings over the years at his company DPR, who does a cornhole tournament that went actually in the Guinness Book of World Records. It's that big, and we're so grateful because we're one of the benefactors of that. You can see our team there at DPR. Eric's on the end, Lisa, Rich, myself, and Chris. And we've just really spent a lot of time. It's really kind of coming down to the land of where we would build this. We've spent a lot of the first years at UCSD, and now we're looking at other options that are that Chris and Rich have really made a lot of progress on. You will hear us announce it when we actually are ready to break ground and do a capital campaign, which we hope is pretty definite to happen next year, that we do a capital campaign, I would say. To the right, we had, if you were on here with Walt Susskind, he's an author, and he came and spoke about his siblings movement in honor of his brother with autism, Owen, is how he started it. And that photo is all of us at a table at the event he spoke at. If you go to the far left on the bottom picture, these are just some other meetings and roundtables that we had to really listen to parents and get the parent perspective about what they're looking for in terms of a place to really serve their child best. What kinds of things are we going to do there? And the annual neuroscience conference, I hope you know how much we appreciate everyone on this call, like Terrence, and I'm not sure if Jeff's on here, that actually were on our panel and really did an awesome job helping everyone really clearly understand what it's like with autism from your own perspective, living with autism. And then it's the far right is Rich and his son Brett at our office. And I just, I hope you see in the photos that Rich just really brings a new energy to our team and a fresh perspective, because, we've been here 16 years and Rich has just really been working hard like the last 4 years or so on this. And so he always comes with like a fresh palette and a fresh energy, and it's such a gift, Rich. And just to see where you are right now today with what you're doing with Brett is a huge honor. And that's what I'd like to say to you. I feel really reverent about what you're going to share today. And I want to say thank you for all the heart and energy that you put into Autism Tree Project. Thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, my pleasure. Wow. Thank you for that.
You can go ahead and start, Rich, and sharing with what you want to share with our community.
Okay, sounds great. Hello, everyone. So today I thought I would just talk about three things. One is I'll give you a little bit on my story, and then share a little bit about my discoveries with ABA and during the pandemic and successes with my son, Brett. And then I'll just kind of wrap up with a little summary. So my son, Brett, is now 16. He was not early diagnosed at all with any form of autism. So it's sort of interesting how I came into ATPF 4 years ago, not knowing my son really had autism. And it just, right? But quick story on my son. He was 1 month premature as a baby. So remember having to feed him in the little incubator, but for the most part, physically, he seemed like any other baby. So ages 0 to 5, he really had no sign whatsoever that there was maybe some challenges. And he was my first, and he still is my only child. So as parents, we didn't even have a frame of reference. See, I think that's a big challenge today, because you don't know what you don't know. One thing I would say, looking back in those years, 0 to 5, he was a little hyperactive, and he never got invited to any classroom birthday parties, which was kind of interesting because he was in all these kindergarten classes and preschool classes, and they were having lots of birthday parties, but I think Brett was like one of the only ones that never got invited, so pretty sad. But other than that, there was no reason for alarm. And then something interesting that would happen is was working in a big job at the time, and sometimes we'd have adults come to the house from my company or business partners, and Brett at the age of 3 or 4 would just waltz right into the room and begin engaging with an adult in adult conversation. And people would flip out and go, wow, I wish I could get my kid to do that. Your son is really advanced. And I remember talking to my wife at the time, we were kind of patting ourselves on the back like, wow, maybe he's going to be the next president. Who knows, maybe our son's on the fast track. It was a real misdiagnosis on our part, because what was really happening was he really had like a singular vision when he walks into rooms, and was kind of ignoring everything around him. But we mistook that for confidence, right? So then all of a sudden at age 6, he had onset epilepsy out of nowhere. So at one point he had 25 seizures in 1 month. The ambulance would come to school, all the kids would come out front. This is very traumatizing for him. You can imagine, we were at Rady Children's Hospital for nearly 1 month. He went through every battery of tests, the PET scan, EEG, monitoring, sleep monitoring, you name it. And they just told us, well, sometimes that's what happens. Kids can have epilepsy. It's not that uncommon. Your son has it. And it took us 4 different sets of medicine. It can take up to 4 months to try a new medicine, because you have to wean off of it and come back onto it. And we finally got it under control at age 8. And we were blessed and very grateful for that. But then a whole new set of challenges started to surface. And really ever since then, it's been kind of a battle with those challenges. So we've had him in and out of therapy. Brett's had, I would say, no less than 10 therapists. and they either give up or we say, let's try a different therapist, because it's never really seemed to have an impact. But observations that we made was he'd have like one-dimensional interaction and movements. Example would be if there's a cookie in the cookie jar in the kitchen and he wants it, he's going to go get it. And it doesn't matter what is in that room. If there's a dog there, he'll trip over the dog. If there's people that are grieving over something, he doesn't care. He's just going to go get that cookie. He's got a one-track mind. Kind of a lack of empathy, regard altogether for others. He has difficulty keeping friends. There's outbursts he'll have, self-management challenges, loss of eye contact. I didn't think there was a problem with the eye contact, but all of a sudden there is. And of course, we're seeing neurologists because of the epilepsy. They just chalked it up as, well, those are the side effects of the med he's on called Depakote. So we said, okay, well, those are the experts. So we continued with the therapy, and finally, we went to one therapist who said, we spent enough time with your son to determine he's completely unresponsive to therapy. And we're surprised the other therapists didn't share that with you. That's not going to work with him. You need to explore other things. And you think he has the classic signs of autism. Have you ever had him tested? And that's where my heart sank, because it was sort of ironic, right? Being a part of ATPF, and this, this world that I'm immersed in, I never really went there with my own son, and I had a lot of feelings of guilt over that. And but I can't beat myself up over that. I did the best I could and got feedback from the professionals at the time. But I think Brett was just misdiagnosed, because we had the school that he was attending give him a quick diagnosis. They have their school version, and they said, your son's got autism. Go get him clinically tested. And we did. And he got his formal diagnosis in just March of this year, which explains a lot. So we got a lot of great feedback from that diagnosis. It wasn't like a doom and gloom thing. It was probably about 300 or 400 pages of notes from the test that said, these are the behaviors and here findings, and it was very thorough. So we've been playing catch up now since he was diagnosed. And I have to tell you, we did share it with Brett that he's on the spectrum, and he received it actually pretty well, and said he thinks of it as he speaks another language. In fact, he thinks the way he looks at it is his primary language is neurodiverse. His secondary language is neurotypical. And he understands that he might have some special things that come along with being ASD in terms of brilliances, which he's still searching for. What are my brilliances? We've got a little inkling to some of them. But he knows he needs to focus extra hard on the neurotypical language, because he's surrounded by a lot of neurotypical people. And if he wants to integrate well with them, it's good to know both languages. So I thought it was a great attitude. And, people have said to me, wow, to think of all the things you've done with him, you're such a great dad. And we're seeing you do all these, pour your heart into it. And for me, it was more of a paternal instinct sort of thing. And I want to share with you this poem that I read when my son was diagnosed, and it just kind of stayed with me. So quickly, I'll read it to you. It says, I saw you sitting there without a friend beside you, so I became one. I saw you looking frightened with no smile, so I gave you one. I saw you unable to tie your shoes, so I bent over and helped you. I saw that you couldn't eat what was served, so I made you what you liked. I saw your anxiety about many things in life. unable to sleep at night, so we counted the stars together. I saw how afraid you are around other people, so I was always by your side. I saw you struggling to say I love you, so I say it for both of us. I saw how life has given you challenges, so I'm here always and forever here. And that just reiterated that, you know, in addition to my paternal instinct, I want to make sure that I'm there for him. And, you know, it kind of leads me to, I think as dads dive in, I think they have a tendency to get more involved, or there's an opportunity for them to get more involved because they have many skills and frameworks that can really assist their children that have ASD. And one of the things that resonated with me, for like 25 years, I was in a pretty objective business environment, you know, Fortune 500 type companies. And we're having meetings and there's frameworks and tools and rules. And just, I spent a lot of time there. And I think a lot of other dads and moms now also have. But for me, when I started to realize that those are the actual, that kind of structure could actually help my son, it really tied me even more into wanting to get closer to my boy and understand ASD and know what the possibilities and options are for it. And so I think there's a great opportunity for both parents to be involved, including dads, because of that. And I think once dads get involved, they realize, wow, I can relate to this. And there's a lot I can bring to the party, which takes me to the ABA, because part of our diagnosis was we were granted so many hours of ABA through the healthcare per week. And somebody asked me about it. Well, what is that like? Somebody comes to your house, and I said, it's like having a life coach. See, there's the work analogy again, because we had life coaches at the executive level in the company I was in. But it's a life coach for both parents and children. So actually, they assigned 2 ABA therapists on the case. One is for the parents and one's for Brett. And it's great because the parents need help understanding what is going on here. Maybe different things you can try or to modify to understand this neurotypical behavior. And then, of course, there's the ABA therapist that works directly with your child. So once a week, he comes to the house. I've heard of other families that have it more than that. But the one thing that I took away right away, the therapist said, Rich, you got to understand, because your late diagnosis, and this ties into what Dina and Lisa and Rebecca always talk about, which is how important it is to have early diagnosis. Having a late diagnosis is not the end of the world, but you have to realize there's, in my case on my son, 15 years of a certain behavioral programming. And that's not going to come undone overnight, right? So if you had a 3-year-old that was diagnosed, well, you don't have all of that. So they can kind of start moving forward earlier. So I remember that. Because sometimes we have to tell my son things 5 and 6 times, and he still doesn't get it. And still has a tendency to do certain things, but it's tied to that. Yeah, the ABA also helped me understand I need to adjust my expectations for situations. I'll give you an example. And Dina talked about cooking. And my son's interested in cooking too. So, like I said, let's go in the kitchen and make a meal together. This is going to be a wonderful father and son experience. Now I'm picturing he's going to remember the good knife skills I taught him, safety. He's going to remember the importance of not being reckless, pulling out dishes and things like that. But that's having expectations. And I have learned from the ABA expectations. I said, Brett and I are going to cook together. We may follow the recipe and we may not. And it may not come out tasty at all. That's okay. And then what happens is, like on a scale of 1 to 10, let's say 10 out of 10 is like the most perfect. You follow the recipe flawlessly, perfect perfect skills in the kitchen with the knife, safety. I learned it's better to walk in with a 1 out of 10, saying the only expectation I have is Brett and I are going to be present together in this room. Then as little things, and I call them little wins, that's something to recognize with your child. And he walks away feeling good, or she could walk away feeling good. And so you celebrate the little wins instead of like, you didn't do this right, you didn't do that. So that was a big change for me. But ABA helped. So I'm being treated as well, my son and me. But it really changed the dynamic. And we do lots of things together, from skiing to mountain bike, backpacking in the wilderness, mountain climbing, all these things. And I kind of adjusted how I approached those. But I will say that I think one of the greatest things about the ABA is it provides weekly hope that and encouragement to never give up. Because from last week's ABA, and I'll try it, and it might not work. But then I say to myself, well, don't give up. That tool just didn't work. We got to try a different tool. And, next week, we're going to experiment with something else. And you just never give up, and you keep trying, because there's so many tools and possibilities and options out there that eventually you're going to find what works with your child. And I've learned that. And it's worked for us so far. I learned too that with the ABA principles, they're more like Legos. I thought it was going to be like this textbook, and here's the officially correct way to support your child. It's less like that and more like, these are Legos. And this is the big Lego, this is the tire Lego, this is a flat Lego, and you got to put those Legos together to have it suit your child based on the behaviors. And I call those frameworks. Once you take the Legos, the ABA concepts, and you put them together, you build a framework. And these frameworks have been really effective with my son so far, and it resonated again with me because I used them in business. But I have a couple examples I can show you. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Let's see how this works. Share. Okay, so like the first one is, I think I shared with you early on, Brett would walk into a room and really not pay attention to what was in there, and it can cause problems. So this is a simple framework that we created, less is more, and he has this posted in his room, and he's not supposed to leave his room until he reviews this. If you're in your bedroom, you decide, I want to go ride my bike. Most of us don't really think about it. You just go. And I think if you break it down, oh my gosh, there's like 15 steps. And the ABA therapist made us do that one day. We broke it down. It was like, I can't believe how many steps there are. Everything from like getting water, to locking the door, to making sure the dogs don't get out, opening the garage door. So it really helped my boy to have those all parsed out so he can make sure he has success. So, but the first thing is, with this diagram, it gets him to think about, well, what things do you have to do before you leave your current space? Like Brett's an example, like if he was in the kitchen, he had the burner on, he might decide he wants to go ride his bike and he just leaves the burner on. So this gets him to go, oh, I have to turn the burner off. I have to decommission what I'm doing in the kitchen and clean up before I can move on to the next object, to the next challenge. And then I think it's one of the biggest things, the emotional piece, because he is lacking the empathy empathy. He doesn't really recognize any of himself. So if there was somebody grieving in the room or sleeping, he doesn't notice that unless he has to make a really deliberate effort. And this reminds him of that. And then the checklist. What will you need, right? You'll need your keys, you'll need your wallet, you'll need some water, you'll need your helmet. So this is just an example of one of the things from ABA that really helps. And he's using that to this day. The second thing I'll share with you is a contract. Well, first of all, it is a daily checklist that really has helped Brett. So everything starting from when he wakes up, to taking his meds, to performing his hygiene routine, to cleaning his bedroom, and he loves this. Who would have think, right? I think a lot of kids would go, don't try to micromanage me, but my son feels safe with this. He can, like, he sees it as an instruction set. It's technical. He loves it, and he does it. And then we've tied this to what's called a behavior contract that says these are the rules, and there's some deal breakers, but if you follow the rules, he A, can get an allowance, and B, he gets screen time privileges. And this has been working fairly well. I mean, it's not perfect, but I'll talk a little bit about that later with COVID, how I think it's important to have a detailed checklist like that. At least it was for us. The last thing I would show you is with the school. So we have a system that we've instituted, and these are all ABA based, but we them what we call, and I had a parent with neurotypical child say, Rich, can I borrow that? Because I want to use it on my child. So I don't think ADA is necessarily only for neurodiverse, right? Everybody can benefit by it. But, you know, green light, yellow light, red light, basically, if you want the autonomy, you got to have, there's certain things you got to do. I'm going to be involved if your, grades aren't to the level they should be. And then it has the privileges over to the side. So this is all, what's great about this is it gives him control and power to turn these things on instead of it being punitive, right? So if you can get your grades to B or above and you don't have any missing work, well, then you get these privileges. And it's really up to him. And I don't need to be the bad guy if he doesn't. We just follow these frameworks. So that was really it on the ABA. Let's see. I guess I go and unshare my screen now. Is that right? How does that work, Rebecca? Or do you bring me back?
I can go ahead and stop it.
There we go. Okay, perfect. The biggest thing I'd say before I leave ABA is that I think if the parent is not involved, I don't know if it's as effective. I haven't done it that way. But I have talked to some families that say, well, we just, when the therapist comes, we just go do something else. And I think it's a learning opportunity for both, and it's synergistic, right? Because I see what the therapist is trying to do, and then I can reinforce it or help adapt it integrate it into the home. So I'm glad I'm a part of it, and I encourage anybody that hasn't explored it yet to check it out. It's just wonderful. So going forward, things I've learned, people ask me, I say, well, if you suspect any form of neurodiversity, it's better to take the full battery of tests and assume some form of ASD than not go down that path. I mean, right? You don't want to jump to conclusions, but I think it's better to explore it. And I wish if I went back, maybe the neurologist or pediatricians we were working with said, why don't you, epilepsy is a behavior, or is I'm not sure what you call it, a medical issue that is linked to autism. maybe you ought to go get checked out for autism. You know, I wish somebody had said that to me, but they didn't. It was the strangest thing. So, you know, that's what I encourage families to do. I think it's better to have an IEP, if I'm saying that right. We have an IEP because of his epilepsy. Thank God. Because if we didn't have that IEP because of the epilepsy, then when he got this late diagnosis, it would have been too late to get one. It's right. If they don't see your child's been on an IEP since day one, it's like an act of God to get put on it. So I would say it's better to get that diagnosis early and get that IEP. Now, if you don't use it, you don't have to use it, but it's there like training wheels at the school. And Brett's been fortunate. He hasn't really had to use it that often, but a couple times he missed an assignment because he didn't understand the instruction set and things like that. And he was able to get a little more time, and he went back and aced it. So it's like, you know, really validates it's important to have it. Now, what we do with the IEP is we every year we have a review with each individual teacher and share with them what Brett's opportunities are, so that they can, you know, he needs to hear instruction sets many times. He might need help focusing or working in groups, and versus saying, oh, the school has an IEP, they got it. You have to manage every piece of that, but it'll work if you do that. In closing, I'm saying, you know, it's not about expecting your child to change. It's about the changes we will make and how we'll accept and receive that information from your child. It's better not to have expectations. Build on the little wins. During the pandemic, people say, what have you learned from the pandemic? The checklist is like godsend, because not having a busy structure for your child is, I say, boredom breeds chaos. So I'm glad we had that, and keep them busy. There's a tremendous amount of information at the genome level today too, I want to point out, that can unlock alternative approaches and treatments. And I've been fortunate enough, thanks to ATPF, to have met individuals that shared that with me, and I followed up on it. I'll give you an example. There is a PET scan. It's a magnetic PET scan. It's different. That can be done that breaks down PET scan and a genomic test, but it's not the normal, it's not like the Illumina genomic test. It's like the whole genome test. And they found, they pulled up 264 genes that typically are related to ASD. And they found a broken gene set in my son. And that gene is responsible for producing a chemical called creatine, and that feeds the brain. A lot of people think like your legs or your other muscles in your body, your brain maybe gets energy the same way those do, but it doesn't. You know, all the other parts of your body gets its energy from the stomach, but the brain gets fed through creatine. And creatine is it's made in the stomach lining and sent in the bloodstream. And so my son does not have enough creatine, which is why his brain has been having seizures, because it's the body's way of saying, I don't have enough of the substance I need. And what's sad is we've been giving him drugs to ignore that, right? It's sad when you think about it. It's like addressing the symptom and not the problem. So thanks to this PET scan, thanks to this genomic test, we now are trying a new treatment with Brett, which is a creatine supplement, and we hope to get him off the epileptic medicine, which will do wonders for him because there's a lot of side effects. So that's just one example, but there's a lot out there genomically. You'd have to seek it out. You have to network. ATPF is an excellent portal for that. Networking is key. And that's it. I hope you picked up one or two things. I always try to on these when I go through these, but every day is an adventure with ASD. Possibilities are endless, and never give up. You just haven't found the right tool yet.
I love it. Thank you so much, Rich, for taking the time today and sharing with our community and our other parents. We asked you today, we do find you, so inspiring, and I just want to express how grateful we are because you are in the beginning of your journey, and we want to be able to recognize, all of our parents are go through these stages, and you're in such a unique stage in, getting your son diagnosed later, and just sharing all of that and how you reacted to it and really dove in head first, and then having that hope of that you're meeting your child where he is and you're doing everything you possibly can to give him the best life. And that is just so incredible. It's such a short turnaround too, and you are so inspiring. Thank you so much for sharing your story. And I would love, can you share your poem was beautiful. Can you share your poem and those resources that you shared with us too with me? I would love to include it in the recap email. Great. So we're at about time. I would love to open it up. I mean, we have a couple minutes if anybody wants to stay on. If you have any questions for Rich, you definitely can type it in the chat or unmute. But we will send a follow-up email as well with all of those resources. And I wanted to say that before COVID, we had an idea to do a father's program that was, Rich's idea was to do the father's program to connect more of our fathers with each other and do fun events. So Rich, do you want to say a little bit about that?
So you mean the original, the whole theme behind getting the fathers together?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the inspiration was there are a lot of fathers that are looking for opportunities to engage with their sons or daughters, but also to network with other dads. And so the concept there was to pull together a group that maybe could meet on some sort of cadence. Initially, we were thinking about maybe a camping trip over a weekend and maybe some activities around town. And then of course, maybe just, some sort of standing call sort of thing. But yeah, I think there's a lot of dads that are interested in it.
There definitely are. I think we see more than ever. There's a lot of fathers who are like you, who want to, do as much as they possibly can and really bond with their, take that time to bond with our kids. And I love the video that Dana shared. It says, having children is not a job, it's a privilege. And yeah, so that's everything you shared. Thank you so much, Rich, for your time. And go ahead and wrap it up. And I would love to take a group picture of everybody. So if you are, don't want to, it's optional to share your screen, but we would love to see all your friendly faces. I'll take a screenshot on my computer. So I'll do a countdown. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Perfect. All right.
Rebecca, maybe you can make sure Rich knows all the things people typed in. I don't know if you're seeing all these messages to you, Rich. They're amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I'm just starting to notice it. I got to respond to everybody. Very cool.
I'll send it in an email. And Rich, is it okay if we share your email too, if somebody wants to reach out to you?
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Well, great. Have a happy Wednesday, everybody, and great rest of your week. Everybody stay connected and do lots of self-care this week. I know the world is kind of crazy, so if you want to reach out to us, please do. We'd love to hear from you. And you can reply to our Lunch and Learn emails and stay connected as much as you possibly can. Thanks so much, everyone. Thank you, Rich.
Hey guys, thank you. Have a good day.
Take care.